All right, West Virginia fans, another day, another wild day in college football. Matt Campbell to Penn State, they finally hire their coach. To talk about it tonight, I have my good friend Amit Batra. Amit, how we doing?
Doing well, man. How are you?
I'm good. I was just talking to you before the show, and I said, I wasn't gonna. My plan wasn't to do a podcast tonight. I was gonna take a break, but then this news broke, and I felt like it had some serious West Virginia ties to it. So I wanted to discuss this tonight on the air. What do you say, Amit?
Yeah, let's do it.
So let's get into the news that broke today. Before that, if you're a West Virginia fan, like and subscribe to the show. Let's get into the news that happened today. So Penn State hires Iowa State head coach Matt Campbell. This was a coaching search that spanned weeks. It seems like James Franklin has been gone forever. Penn State had a lot of pressure on them to hire a coach. They end up with Matt Campbell. Amit, what are your initial thoughts about the hire from Penn State today?
Yeah, no, I think it was a good hire. I mean, I like what Matt Campbell has done at Iowa State. Obviously, he has built that program to be competitive over the years. I think he's going to have more resources, right, at Penn State compared to Iowa State. So I think it's a good move for him as well. And I think he has a lot of work to do very quickly because I mean, Penn State, as we've seen in the recruiting rankings, it's not looking good for them over there. So I think he has a lot of work to do very quickly.
Yeah, one of my coworkers is a Penn State season ticket holder, and he always, would show me the recruits they're getting, and I was always jealous. I'm like, man, they're always getting 4-star and 5 stars, and then see them trailing Montana yesterday was pretty eye opening. I think that it was a good hire. I think this is long overdue for Matt Campbell. He's done all the right things at Iowa State, and he deserved this opportunity. As you can see, Penn State is committing roughly $30 million in NIL money and $17 million in staff pool, assistant coaches, support staff, etc. to Matt Campbell. Amit, what are your thoughts on those numbers?
I mean, they're pretty crazy, right? I mean, yeah, it's good. I think he's going to have a lot of opportunity to obviously, kind of do things his way with the resources at Penn State. I think, it's a tough situation also though because I mean they're behind, right, as far as the numbers that we've seen as far as recruiting and everything like that. So, yeah, I think it's going to be pretty interesting moving forward.
Yeah, so let's get into this. So I have a comment from my good friend Owen, who I used to work with. He's a Penn State student right now. He said, and he's also a big Rangers fan. So shout out to you, Owen. He said, "Great hire," and we agree. We think it's a great hire for Penn State, and we're going to tell you why in the show. And Terry Smith is back on a staff for a 4-year deal. We're going to talk about that now. So Penn State, they were able to do two things, kill two birds with one stone. Admit. Terry Smith expected to remain at Penn State and coach on the new staff. I think that's absolutely essential to keep this group together. They were calling for him to be the head coach. Now they get the best of both worlds. The AD is happy, and now the players that are currently there are happy that Terry Smith remains on the staff.
Absolutely. I think as far as trying to get, some stability within the program after everything that's kind of transpired is pretty big time. So yeah, no, I think it's a huge to, have that for them.
I will say this to Penn State fans, though, take it with a grain of salt. Last year, West Virginia hired Rich Rodriguez, as we know, and the big guy that everyone wanted back was Chad Scott. That happened. Chad Scott got a better opportunity and didn't stick around. So right now, that's the plan, but things could always change. 8-year deal for Matt Campbell, so good for him. Let's talk about good or bad hire. We kind of both said our piece, but I want to just go through Matt Campbell's stats real quick on here. So 15 years he's been a head coach at the Division I level, has 107 wins and 70 losses, 35-15 at Toledo, 72-55 at Iowa State, was a Big 12 finalist but never won. He's going to have big shoes to replace for James Franklin. We'll talk about under pressure. So let's start off with the record. Amit, what are your thoughts on his record at both Iowa State and Toledo?
Yeah, no, I think he's done a solid job, at both places. I mean, with Iowa State, I remember like even when we were in college, I mean, Kansas and Iowa State were the two programs that are kind of, bottom feeders as far as, around that time. But he's built that program, right, to be extremely competitive. And I think, he's done a great job in Ames. And I think he's going to have a lot of opportunity to do good things at Penn State. Obviously, it's a bigger job, right? It's going to be a little bit more pressure, I think, at Penn State because you're always expected to perform well there and, be in contention for championships.
So look at, like you mentioned, Amit, and I think this is why this has the biggest effect in the Big 12, and that's what we're going to talk about now is look at Iowa State before Matt Campbell was there. 4 wins, 3 wins, 2 wins, 7 wins, 5 wins, 6 wins, 6 wins, 3 wins, 2 wins, 3 wins. They were a dumpster fire.
Yeah.
And then I got to be honest, I love the Iowa State people. They've supported our baseball team. We've supported their softball team. It's all kumbaya. But guess what? I hope Iowa State takes a step back. I really hope Iowa State takes a step back, Amit, because they're in our conference. And it used to be nice to have 2 guaranteed wins on the schedule, don't you think? Where you could look on the schedule and say, okay, you get your 3 non-conference games. You beat Kansas. You beat Iowa State. There's 5. Can you get 1 more to get to a bowl game? That has no longer existed in the Big 12. There is no doormat right now. And how do you feel about this? 'Cause for me, I'm hoping that Iowa State takes a step back.
No, absolutely. I mean, they've become, like we said, very competitive. I think Ames is always a hard place to play as well. It always felt like, they were due for an upset every year in some capacity, being a ranked team. But yeah, I think, I remember kind of when we were there too, West Virginia, Iowa State. I think they tried to make it a little bit of a rivalry as far as the 2 programs, but that kind of never transpired. But I mean, yeah, he's built a good thing over there, and they've been extremely competitive, and they've had some really good players over there over the years.
He's been a thorn in the side of West Virginia.
Yeah.
I remember the Will Greer year. They wore the blackout uniforms. West Virginia was undefeated. We were feeling really, really
Yeah.
high about that team, man. They crushed Tennessee. They had some nice wins over Kansas State and things like that. We were undefeated. We went there and we got totally just shut down. I mean, there are some times where Iowa State just totally beat West Virginia down. I remember us beating them with Jarrett Doege. But other than that, Matt Campbell has had a really good record against West Virginia. So the fact that he's going to be out of the Big 12, I think, is an opportunity for West Virginia. We're going to talk about when we play them upcoming soon. Let's go back to the pressure situation now, Amit, because he's going to have some pressure on him, right? Big 12 finalist, but he could never get that monkey off the back. They were so close so many times to winning the Big 12, but couldn't get it done. So my question to you, Amit, is big shoes to fill with James Franklin. Is he a better hire than James Franklin? Is he about even, or is he a worse hire than James Franklin if you are looking at this through a Penn State lens?
I mean, I think he's probably on par with James Franklin. I don't know. James Franklin, I mean, I think he was a really good coach. I mean, obviously last year he took him to he was 2 wins away from winning a national championship. So, I mean, it's pretty crazy, right? When, that's the standard, right? And we probably would have loved to have that situation, right? And then, 8, 9 months later, he's gone, right? So, I think, he's probably on par. I mean, he's done really good things, at Toledo, at Iowa State. But now, you're taking a major step up as well, right? I mean, I think, the Big Ten is obviously a very, it's a premier college football conference. And you're going to play the likes of, Ohio State, Michigan every year. So, I mean, you're going to have, extremely competitive games and big time challenges. And I think, Penn State's going to, there's going to be pressure right away to win over there.
Yeah, I think so too, because James Franklin set a standard there. I
Yeah.
think these guys have so many similarities, though. I mean, if you look at them, they both rebuilt. He built Iowa State, which is a tough place to win. Franklin rebuilt Vanderbilt and now rebuilt Penn State. So he's always going to get compared to James Franklin moving forward. But I think for Penn State, for how long this went for them, because it was a long time, and it was a little embarrassing for them at some points, quite frankly. I know some of their alumni were a little bit embarrassed because they felt like this was a top 10 job. And I agree with
Yeah.
them. I think Penn State has a chance to be a top 10 job nationally with the recruiting that you have in Pennsylvania, with the stadium they have up there, the proud alumni. I mean, it's really cool up there. But now he I think they're about even, truthfully. I think that's what they are. And I think they're gonna get compared a lot in their careers, so it should be really interesting to see what happens with these coaches moving forward. The other thing I want to say, Amit, is like you said, the resources now, right? This was long overdue for Matt Campbell because he had other opportunities to leave. He was always linked to other coaching jobs, but he stayed put and he was waiting for the right opportunity. I
Yeah.
think that this makes sense for both parties. And I think Matt Campbell should have been brought up earlier in the process, truthfully. So Penn State, it was time to move on from James Franklin. And I also think it was time for Matt Campbell to get a higher job. So I think it worked out for both parties, truthfully.
Absolutely. And, when you think about when James Franklin took over that Penn State job a while back, I mean, he had tremendous pressure, obviously, kind of, bringing Penn State back on the map after the whole Joe Pa situation. So that was very difficult. And I mean, I don't think he gets, the credit that he probably deserves, right, for kind of, dealing with all of that and, putting them in a competitive spot after dealing with everything that, transpired at Penn State around that time. So, I think it's a kind of a similar situation where Matt Campbell's coming into a predicament where um, you know look how many recruits that Virginia Tech and West Virginia just got from Penn State.
It was like they were looking at like the dead carcass up the road in Penn State,
Correct.
and they were
Yeah.
like vultures, and it helped to our benefit. And I think that this isn't done yet with their class. I mean, they'll have a chance to retain some of their players now in the portal with Terry Smith coming back, but
Yeah.
there are some guys that West Virginia and Penn State always battle for. There's a highly ranked guy in Penn State's room that was a top player in West Virginia just a year ago. I mean, if he hits the portal, West Virginia is going to be calling him. So this isn't done yet, and this is going to be interesting recruiting battles over the years, man. Matt Campbell, Rich Rodriguez, and James Franklin all recruiting in the same backyard. Are you kidding me? It's going to be nuts. It's
Yeah.
going to be nuts. All right, let's move on. We talked about the win-loss record. Again, hopefully they go back to those ways.
Yeah.
Sorry, if anyone Iowa State fans are watching this, I'm sorry, but I want some easy wins for West Virginia. It's been rough for us. No one feels bad for us when we're the doormat. So
Yeah.
Iowa State, you can take a back seat. All right, so let's look at Penn State. We talked about expectations for year one. Let's look at their schedule real quick, and then we'll kind of move on about the Big 12 and West Virginia. I mean, I'm going to read the schedule to you. I have a win total that I think Penn State can get to right now. It's very early. We don't know their roster yet, but they have a lot of money in NIL. It looks like they could be able to rebound quickly. Marshall Thundering Herd, at Temple, Buffalo, easiest non-conference ever,
Yeah.
at Maryland, at Michigan, at Northwestern, Minnesota, Purdue, Rutgers, USC, Wisconsin, at Washington. Amit, how many losses do you see on the schedule for next year? Way too early prediction for Penn State.
Yeah, I mean, like you mentioned, I think the non-conference is pretty manageable. And then Michigan's obviously going to be a challenging one. USC. I could see them getting 8-9 wins, to be honest. Just based on just based on the schedule, right? It's not you're not playing Ohio State, correct? So, it's one of those schedules where I think it's very manageable. And I think he can actually do pretty good things in year one.
No Ohio State, no Oregon, no Indiana.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes these conferences are just too big. I mean, to not have to play any of those schools is crazy. I'm sure James Franklin wish he had this schedule. He would be, he wish he had this schedule this year.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I could see them losing to at Michigan. Minnesota is always a tough team. You can't count them out. USC and Washington. Wisconsin's a dumpster fire right now, but who knows what Penn State's going to be next year. So I could see an 8-win, 9-win season for Penn State in year one for Matt Campbell. And I think Penn State fans, all things considered, with how rough the offseason has gone for them, I think if you had 8 or 9 wins right now, you'd be happy with that. All right. He said first test for Campbell is Michigan. That will be interesting. Yeah. Michigan has, even though with a new coaching staff, they've been relevant. Penn State has had a tough time with the big dogs. This is going to be a chance. Could you imagine Matt Campbell knocks off Michigan his first attempt?
Yeah, I think Penn State fans would take that any day, and I think he would be welcomed with open arms if if he wins that one.
I wonder how James Franklin feels. Like, does he root for his former – I mean, a lot of his former players could be with him at Virginia Tech. That's going to be the most fascinating thing about this coming up is how many of the players on the roster want to play for James Franklin and how many of them want to play for Matt Campbell. Now, Penn State has a lot of guys that are going to the pros anyway, so they would have probably had to rebuild through the portal anyway in a little bit. I mean, they always recruit well, but the recruiting class kind of fell off. So that's going to be interesting to see, who the kids want to play for. But, yeah, I think 8 or 9 wins will be interesting. All right. Dude, Iowa State, I'm not sure if you saw this. We'll talk about this. Iowa State acted very quickly. 1 hour ago, they announced their new coach already. So there wasn't this. It took like Penn State 2 weeks to hire a coach. It took Iowa State an hour. I mean, it sounds like these guys were pretty prepared for this.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, you want to have some sort of plan, especially at this time of year when, there's a lot going on and you have to move quickly because, I mean, before you know it's going to be January and you want to get guys out of the portal, right? So, yeah, I think, with everything that, has kind of transpired, I think they want to move as quickly as possible and they found their guy.
Yeah, so Jimmy Rogers, background on him, he only spent one season at Washington State. That was this year. He was 6-6, so led them to a bowl game. You can see their record here and their opponents. They played Idaho, San Diego State. They had some tough games on their schedule. North Texas is really good this year. Ole Miss, Virginia. So they have a couple college football playoff contenders on that schedule. So they went 6-6, not terrible. You gotta feel bad for Washington State fans, man. They first you get knocked out of the Pac-12 and that
Yeah.
league. They didn't get knocked out, but they're still in if everyone left. And then your coach leaves after 1 year. That's like he pulled a Darren DeVries kind of. But can you blame this guy for leaving Washington State and going to Iowa State?
No, I think it's a better opportunity. I mean, the biggest challenge is, how many guys are going to leave that program as well. I mean, we talked about Rocco, a quarterback. Is that a guy that, West Virginia looks at potentially, right?
Don't give it away, man. We're going to talk about that at the end. That's what we're going to talk about. Yeah, unfortunately, these coaches, man, they have to make tough decisions. It's a dog eat dog world. It's either, this isn't not a good profession. You are either getting fired or get promoted. And this guy chose to get promoted earlier. Let's see. What do you think about him being successful at Iowa State? I'm putting on the spot here because this just happened a few minutes ago. He does have the 2023 FCS champion at South Dakota State, but he had some really big shoes to fill, man.
No, absolutely. I mean, yeah, it's going to be, a bump in competition. But I mean, also, I mean, as we've seen with the Big 12, you can find success, right? If things work out. I mean, Arizona State, just won the Big 12. Texas Tech is likely to win the Big 12. BYU's in the picture, Utah's in the picture. So, it's not like, there's a dominant force, I would say, right now in the Big 12, maybe Texas Tech. But other than that, I mean, we've seen a lot of programs kind of emerge over the years.
My buddy Steve said Franklin is out for himself, won't look back. Yeah, man, I think we talked about Franklin a few times on the show. I think Franklin's in a really good situation right now with Virginia Tech. He always recruits well in that Virginia area. Tyler Warren, Tony Rojas, and he has an easier schedule. Look at the ACC championship right now, right? Duke versus Virginia. What is this, basketball? I mean, he has a chance to really make hay in year one at Virginia Tech. It's going to be interesting to see what happens there. All right. So again, we're going to talk about this. See you next year. So this is the West Virginia schedule for the next 2 years. And you see on here next year, we get to play at Iowa State. So like I said, hopefully they take a step back. And I think if you're putting your money on it, I would probably say that Iowa State does take a step back because I did a video earlier this year and I highlighted first year struggles in the Big 12. Dion struggled year one. Rich Rod struggled year one. Matt Campbell struggled year one. Lance Leipold struggled. David Miranda, Dillingham struggled his first year at his new job. So, these teams, these are not easy to win. Even Fritz, Houston, that it's hard to win year one in the Big 12. So next year, West Virginia gets to play Iowa State. And then the other thing you have to keep your eye on is Chris Kleiman from Kansas State also decided to hang it up this week and resign. They have Colin Klein. It looks like he's going to take over for them. So I know he did. He brings Optimus Prime. He was elite in college. Remember him?
Yeah.
So, Amit, just any thoughts real quick about Iowa State next year and just the upcoming schedule for next year for West Virginia?
Yeah, no, I think Iowa State could definitely take a step back. It is hard to win in year one, as you're trying to build a new roster and everything like that. I think it's a winnable schedule. And then, I mean, just from what we've seen lately with recruiting, I'm super excited to see the team next year because I think there's so much potential. Having a top 25 class.
There's another comment from Penn State guys. Rojas is interesting. You wonder if he stays at Penn State or goes to Virginia Tech with Franklin. Yeah, I think he's like, I see him as like one of the guys that could be a leader, especially you look at how many guys are going to put in the NFL next year with like Denai Sutton, Kimber, and things like that. There's going to be a lot of guys that leave. So Rojas is a guy that tore his ACL at practice. So he has to come back pretty much. And it's going to be interesting. He's going to have a decision to make. And that should be an interesting recruiting battle. What Terry Smith tells him, what Matt Campbell tells him, and what James Franklin tells him, and where he goes. The transfer portal battles between Virginia Tech and Penn State are going to be like must-watch internet stuff this year, for sure. All right, any last thoughts on this slide before we move on, Amit?
No, I mean, I think West Virginia, I mean, like I said, I think they have the potential to be very competitive next year. And I think it's a winnable schedule. And I think with everything they're doing, I mean, they're in good shape.
Look at that home schedule next year for West Virginia. Arizona has taken a leg up. That's going to be fun because Rich Rodriguez used to coach at Arizona.
Yeah.
Cincinnati is improved, but then we beat Houston this year on the road. Kansas didn't make a bowl game, even though they smoked us this year. And Oklahoma State is a dumpster fire. They have a new coach. I believe it's like the North Texas coach is going to go there.
Yep.
So we have some winnable games at home. Non-conference isn't that bad. I think that Virginia game against Charlotte will tell us a lot. And then we won't talk about 27. Who knows what will happen before that? All right. So you mentioned this, and this is going to be the last topic of the night. Rocco's Modern Life. Amit, do you remember Rocco's Modern Life back in the day?
Yeah, I guess that's showing our age, right?
I'm for those that know, I'm a fourth grade teacher, and I've shown episodes of Hey Arnold to my class before, and I've tied it into like language arts lessons. So I don't get to talk about Rocco Beck that much, so I thought this was a fun headline. So this is a lot of things that people have been talking about. Obviously, there's always a West Virginia connection. He was didn't go to West Virginia out of high school. Obviously, went to Iowa State, started as a true freshman, and did some really good things as a freshman, and has been a guy that has won big games and has shown a big arm and showed poise. Took a little bit of a step back this year, if I'm being honest. 16 touchdowns to 9 picks compared to last year at 25 to 9. But they lost a lot to graduation, Iowa State. But he's a guy that wins games. Amit, what are your thoughts on Rocco's Modern Life, Rocco Becht, possibly coming to West Virginia? You think he's a fit?
I do think so. I think we've talked about should we look into the portal for somebody who's kind of proven, right? And I think he is proven, right? He's been in college football for a little bit now, and he's done some good things. And I think he's definitely worth considering because I mean, like we've mentioned, I mean, you just need multiple guys at that position, especially. So would love to see at least West Virginia kind of in talks with them, and see if they can possibly land him.
Yeah, I think he's too good to pass up. I mean, if you would have told me
Yeah.
last year Rocco Becht was in the portal and he would be available to come to Morgantown, you would have signed up for that right away. Now, does he have the greatest rushing numbers? No, those are sack adjusted too, so you have to keep those with a grain of salt. I looked his speed up today on NCAA football. Man, I think the NCAA does a great job with the rating system. Any guesses on Rocco's speed?
Oof. I have
Put it on
no
the spot.
idea. Yeah.
83 speed. So I think that's doable to be in a Rich Rod offense with 83 speed. But the
Yeah.
point is he's a thrower first. So I don't know. I mean, you at least make the call if you're West Virginia, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we talked about. I mean, I think he's a proven guy. He's capable of leading the offense. So I think it's something you absolutely have to consider.
Coop said, let's go, Coop. Good to hear from you. Good luck to West Virginia versus Wake Forest tomorrow. We can start 3-0, maybe 1-2. I hope it's 3-0, man. I think we can beat Virginia. I think does Chandler Morris have any more years left? He can't. He's been in college forever, I feel like. I don't know. I think West Virginia, I think we're doing some good things. But who knows? How can we really evaluate West Virginia until you see what they do in the portal, right?
Yeah.
All right. So for me, my thoughts on it, like I said, I think if he is available, he takes a chance. He's going to have some decisions to make too. He's a senior. Does he really want to enter the portal as a senior? But does he see an opportunity to go to Penn State for 1 year and do great things there? Penn State has that Gunkmeyer kid who was a 4-star recruit in himself and has done some decent things this year. It's going to be interesting, man. This transfer portal thing with all the coaches and the carousel that's happening, Amit, this transfer portal is going to be absolutely insane when it opens up in January 2nd.
Absolutely. And I mean, I think I sent you that video of all the quarterbacks that are going to probably be available in the portal. So it's fascinating. I mean, it's like, do you go with a proven guy maybe in, Power 4, or do you go look at maybe a group of 5, somebody looking to take a step up, at a North Texas, Old Dominion, something like that? Or do you look at maybe a Sellers or something, or, a guy like that? I don't know.
Yeah, sometimes it pays off, sometimes it doesn't. I mean, look at what happened with Caden Salter this year at Colorado. Didn't exactly live up to the hype, but then you see a guy like Devin Dampier at Utah that really, Utah needed a quarterback and they found one. I mean, we've seen what can happen if you get an elite quarterback. I mean, Will Grier, period, stop. He changed the program.
Yeah.
We haven't had a quarterback like that since. I don't think Rocco's Will Grier, but I think I think it's fair to say that Rocco would have a leg up on Scotty Fox at this point based on his experience. And admit, when we talked about the best case scenario, I said, and you said, senior, 1 year,
Yeah.
stopgap, bring him in for a year, let Scotty sit and learn. Then it's Scotty's time the rest of the time. If that's the case, though, man, we brought in some really dynamic quarterbacks in this freshman class. So Rich Rodriguez said that every day is going to be a competition. So that competition, it won't just be handed to Scotty either. He's going to have to earn it. So that'll be interesting. Any last thoughts on this? I've been rambling.
No, I think you do want the competition, right? I mean, we did see some great things out of Sky second half of the year, but I think there's still room for him to grow as well and improve, right? So I think a competition would be nice, and you do want somebody who's proven because I mean I think next year is a huge year for West Virginia.
Absolutely. Please remember to like and subscribe to the show. Mitt, before we get out of here, how important is the Wake Forest basketball game tomorrow for West Virginia?
Huge. I mean, I think they need, a kind of a big time win against a good team, or at least a pretty good team, decent team. Wake Forest. I mean, they have 3 losses. They just lost to Oklahoma, but they did play Texas Tech very tough. They did play Michigan very tough, and those two teams are pretty good, very good actually, ranked in the top 20. So, I mean, I think it's a big time game. I mean, you're in Charleston, West Virginia. You're gonna have a good crowd. It's gonna feel like a home game. But I think this game and Ohio State are big for the non-conference moving forward because you want to end that slate on a high note.
Apparently, Little Rock too is a big one. Apparently, Little Rock, people are talking about them a little bit. So I'm excited. I know you and me talked about tomorrow about possibly doing a live show,
Yeah.
reaction show after the game. 6 o'clock is a great tip-off time. It's going to be interesting, because I think it's going to be a telltale sign of what this team can do. You've had Chance Moore now and Jackson Fields play in a few games and get comfortable together. So you have all the guys here. Can you get a win in the Charleston Coliseum tomorrow? Should be really interesting. I mean, last thing, you got me really fired up today. I saw your tweet. You're like, it's going to be a great sports weekend. And I
Yeah.
love the optimism. It got me excited. We
It's
had a lot of
such a good time of year, man. I mean, with all the conference championship games and everything, and you look at the schedule from noon on, it's like, man, it's beautiful.
last thing. You saw the thing I sent you from Gruden. He made some good points today. But before we get off, all right, what is there any point to playing these conference championship games, Amit?
Doesn't feel like it, right? I mean, there's a handful of teams that are going to make the college football playoff sitting at home this week, right? At least 4 or 5, most likely. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. It doesn't feel like it has the same
Well,
emphasis that it used to.
look what happened. Speaking of Penn State, look what happened to them last year. They got made last year. They played Oregon in the Big Ten championship, lost to Oregon, right? Oh, congratulations! You lost the championship. You get to play SMU and Boise State, and then Oregon, congratulations! You get to play Ohio State in your first game in the bit. And it doesn't make any
I
sense.
think it matters to some programs more than like a BYU. It's going to matter way more than a Texas Tech. So I think Texas Tech is in no matter what, right?
100%.
Yeah, and like I mean, obviously Ohio State, Indiana are locks. Like Georgia is the lock. I mean,
Yeah, Oregon's a lock, but Oregon's a lock now, but they don't get to play, so like it's actually advantage to them. They get to rest up. They don't get anyone hurt. I think the other thing too is I feel like I almost forget it's championship week because there's been so much craziness off the field, especially West Virginia. We had the best recruiting class that we can remember this week sign, and then all these coaching staffs. It's almost like the games itself are taking a back seat to the off the field storylines. Do you feel the same way?
yeah, no, I think the scheduling is nuts, right? Right now between everything with the all the coaching and then the National Signing Day, the portal, everything like it's gonna be mayhem. The playoffs. I mean, it feels like there's 50,000 things going on at once.
They got to fix the schedule, man. You can't
Yeah,
have. And what
totally.
other sport do you have the head coach of a playoff contender that's going to playoffs leave to go to
Right.
another? It makes no sense. There's so much money involved, and it's just like a slap in the face to the fans. I mean, we saw it last year with DeVries, and Ole Miss got it way worse. I mean, like DeVries leaving right before the Big 12 tournament.
Yeah.
But
Totally.
who knows where that probably was happening behind closed doors, though, right? I mean,
Yeah.
he
Totally.
knew before, it's just a slap in the face. It makes you feel really bad. But
Yeah.
then you're like Gus, and you love your team, and you're dudes
Right.
that are making a podcast about your team at 10 o'clock at night. You're
Yeah, I
locked
mean, well, I
in.
think it's also tough on the players. Like, imagine Ole Miss players right now. What are they thinking when you just lose your coach? You're going to the playoffs. You should be happy right now and excited. And you're like, all right, who's going to be coaching us? So,
Dude, everyone is just looking out for themselves and stabbing each other in the back in so many aspects, right? Conference realignment. You're just going to pick up and go in the middle of the night. You don't care about your other counterparts. I'm going to
yeah,
hit the transfer portal. Someone just offered me a bag. I'm hitting the portal. Oh,
yeah,
this is a better coaching opportunity. I'm going to leave. I'm gonna redshirt after 4 games and leave. I mean, everyone is looking out for themselves,
right.
and nobody is looking out for the fans or anything. But again, we still watch. The ratings are what they are. The money is flowing, and it's just a wild time. Hopefully, in the next few years, there can be some common sense with this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think loyalty's out the window. Like, forget about all that. I mean, there's that doesn't exist anymore. And it is what
Rich
it is.
Rodriguez looks better and better every time, now that he's back too. But with like what you've seen now with the other coaches, I mean, it's happening everywhere. It really is.
Yeah.
Anyway, end of rant. We went for 30 minutes. We had a lot of people on the show tonight. We had a lot of people come in here tonight, which was really cool. We've been getting momentum. Listen, we really appreciate you guys. Again, friendly reminder: if you're a West Virginia fan, please remember to like and subscribe to the show. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you guys soon.